Hi, my name's Andy Ely. I'm a senior funeral director with G Seller Independent Funeral Directors, and we've been serving bereaved families since 1910. I'm sure you're well aware there's lots and lots of popular myths, misconceptions, and taboos around the funeral profession. So we've decided to put this series of podcasts together in order to try and dispel some of those myths, and of course, to answer any questions that you have. So please do like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And any questions that you have, send them to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk. It genuinely is our family caring for your family. Today, we're going to be talking about embalming, and I'm joined by my colleague Rhonda. So, Rhonda, just give me a quick introduction of yourself. How did you get into the world of embalming?
Started in 1984. I went onto a YTS scheme, which at the time was a youth opportunities training scheme run by the government.
Okay.
And basically, I was paid 25 quid a week. And it gave me an opportunity to get into a profession that I wanted to get into.
Okay, so it's quite a strange choice in profession, to be honest. I mean, what were people's reaction to that?
Initially, shock horror.
Okay.
An unsuitable job for a woman.
Okay. Okay. So this was back in the 80s, wasn't it?
1984.
Yeah, different times. So we're here to talk about embalming. So can you give me a brief history? What is embalming? Where's it come from?
Well, embalming's been carried out for thousands of years. I mean, everybody knows about how the Egyptians used to carry out their processes. 20th century modern embalming now is obviously totally different to how things were done thousands of years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's something that we all feel is a necessity.
Okay. Why?
Well, when somebody chooses to come to the chapel of rest to see a loved one, that person could have gone through a lot of things. And, not every mode of death is peaceful, tucked up in bed. And when we come to care for a loved one, the first thing that we actually do is look at that person. We always try and get a photograph of the person in life to give us some kind of idea. And when they're actually laid out in the chapel of rest, our aim is for the families to actually come in and to be able to say, oh, I'm glad I've been. I'm
Yeah,
glad I've been.
absolutely. So how do we explain it to a family? So I've got a very, I'm not an embalmer myself. I've got a basic understanding of the process, what happens, and I have not a script as such, but a way of explaining to a family embalming.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Well, basically, when you're talking to a family, you need to explain what the advantages are to the art of embalming. Primarily, our aims are preservation, presentation. Um, Preservation is the actual process of the embalming,
Okay.
and obviously, presentation is the person being laid out in the chapel of rest.
Okay, so the basic gist, someone's embalmed in order to slow down nature's course,
Yeah,
give a family the opportunity to come and spend a
yeah,
bit of time with them.
yeah.
Perfect. Is there any legalities in this?
Legalities, the main legality, to be honest with you, is the permission of the family.
So we can't do anything until we have that permission.
Absolutely. And again, it all comes down to the point of the funeral director being confident enough to explain what the process is.
Absolutely.
Not everybody wants to know the ins and outs of what goes on behind the scenes. However, what I can say is I can honestly assure that when we look after somebody, we treat every person that comes into our care with dignity and respect.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. So, okay, I'm going to a little bit more detail. So, what does it actually involve, the actual embalming process?
Embalming is it's chemicals, a mixture of chemicals, mainly formaldehyde based,
Okay.
mixed with water and various other agents which help with rehydration of tissues. When somebody passes away, there's a lot of dehydration which takes place. Embalming itself enhances the presentation of the deceased. When we start embalming, the first thing we do is we look at the person, we ascertain uh, which artery we're going to be looking for, because the actual process involves a bit of surgery, minor surgery at
Okay.
that. Okay, so there's got to be a good understanding of anatomy. Once we've made the decision, we mix the chemicals, and the chemicals are injected via the arterial system by a pressurised machine.
Okay. Brilliant. So this procedure, so surely these chemicals, how do they affect us, or yourself as the embalmer there? Are there any problems with that? Any side effects?
Well, I mean, people can have lung problems if they don't take the right use the corrective equipment.
Okay. Inoculations?
Inoculations, yeah. I mean, hepatitis B, C, and tetanus, polio, the usual.
So talking of inoculations there in various different infections, disease, is there any time that we perhaps can't embalm someone?
Yeah, if somebody has passed from an infectious disease, there are various guidelines. Yellow fever is,
Okay.
which is, it's not really that known, but just to give you an example, rabies, all these kinds of infections, which from time to time we never expected COVID to come into the equation, but
Absolutely.
it did.
So this is something we check, of course, before we carry on embalming. Is there any other paperwork that we need in place before we carry on with the actual process?
Yeah, the registration has to be effected before we can do anything, and also there are legal papers if a cremation is going to be taking place that have to be checked before we embalm.
So I mentioned as well the piece around any reasons that a deceased can't be embalmed. Is there any different cultures, different faiths? Any we can't embalm them for any reason?
The Muslim and the Jewish community, their
Okay.
preference is for embalming not to take place.
Okay. Do we know why? Is there?
It's religious
It's just
element.
the
It is
faith.
the religious element. Yeah.
Absolutely. Repatriation. So bringing someone back into this country, or perhaps taking someone out to another country. Do we have to be embalmed in that instance?
Most airlines will insist that the
Okay.
person's embalmed.
Is there anything that we have to do to prove that we've done that?
We sign a certificate to say that we've done that.
Oh, okay. Okay, brilliant. So embalming, I mean, do you have to be qualified?
I took a theory and a practical examination, and was awarded a membership of the British Institute of Embalmers. Just because I'm qualified doesn't make me the best.
Okay.
There are a lot of unqualified embalmers out there. We've got a couple that actually work for Gisela, that they work under my guidance,
Okay.
and basically we share our practices, providing the aim is always to maintain the dignity of that person when they're being embalmed. And if I can give advice to an embalmer, then obviously I'll assist and help wherever I can.
So you're kind of the oracle that everyone comes to talk to seek that advice.
Yeah.
So just one final thing that I'm just going to touch on is the cost of this to the family. I mean, I know some funeral directors do. We don't though, do we? We don't charge extra for this process because it's quite an intricate process, isn't it?
It is an intricate process, but it's something that, especially at Gisela, we've always endorsed embalming. David Barsby, our chairman, is a qualified embalmer, and he was actually my mentor when I started in the profession. And in terms of cost, if we're going to do things properly, we incorporate what we can into our general running costs.
Absolutely.
Because we believe it's a necessary process, but it's only a process that can be carried out with the permission of the family.
Absolutely. Rhonda, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. So I'm sure you can tell that's a very brief overview of what embalming entails. If you do have any questions, please like, share and subscribe. Send those questions to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we'll see you next time.